Good morning, dear Tay, dear beloved community. Just looking around. Yeah. We have a day of mindfulness where I think most of us here, many of us here are on the 3-month retreat. And I'm reminded of my first full 3-month retreat with Tay and the Sangha, sitting in this hall, and I remember Tay sharing how encouraging us to be present for ourselves throughout the retreat, to be present in our steps, in our body, so that we can also be there for all our mental formations as they arise, and for us to be so present that we don't miss a mental formation. We are present, a mental formation arises, we're there to take care. A perception arises, an emotion arises, we are present and able to take care. I remember being extremely impressed by this instruction, and I thought, okay, that's what I'll do. But I don't remember what happened quite after that. I think I tried, but I don't remember being able to stay present for all the mental formations. Yeah. But nevertheless, the practice is that, and the practice is also to remember to come back. Shmrti in the stained glass window is mindfulness, is precepts, is also remembering. Remembering to do that, to come back to ourselves, to be present for ourselves, not to abandon ourselves, means to establish ourselves in the present moment. And when we learn how to practice the first seal of Plum Village, I have arrived, I am home, we're doing that, right? With each step, we have an opportunity to arrive in our step, in our body, coming back to our breathing and finding ourselves truly present, arriving in the present moment. And that experience of arriving is not a concept. It is an experience that we need individually to make. It's not enough to just repeat, arrived, home, home. It's something to be experienced. And it goes deep. It goes deeper, and we can start to investigate what the quality of that experience is. I remember I lived in London for 1 year before I came here, and I got this book about where there was something like 52 walks near London, and I would take the car and go to do one each week. And so as a beginner practitioner, I tried walking. I always remember walking in this forest, very beautiful path, and practicing I have arrived, I am home, trying to practice walking meditation. And just realizing as I was walking that I was just really trying hard, but getting nowhere in the practice. And I thought, gosh, this isn't working. I just stopped. I held a tree, and I said, I'm not going to take another step until I've arrived, so that feeling of arrived is I can then bring into the next step. So that was my challenge to myself, and it was quite important that I succeeded because I had to get back home. So I just came back to my breathing, and I thought, not until I've arrived do I take another step. And you have to make your own experience of it and find out what that means for you to arrive in the present moment with yourself. For me it meant noticing that my mind was monkey mind, just going a lot elsewhere. And so constantly coming back to the body, coming back to the breath, and finding myself in, the establishing myself in my body. That's the first establishment of mindfulness, right? Coming back to ourselves and finding ourselves in. Coming back to the home of the body. And with our mind, bringing our attention to the body and the breath, so that the mind and the body become again one, like unified. And we discover that the mind and the body are actually like to be together, and they're not so, they don't need to be so estranged from each other. There's a book called The Dubliners by, what's he called? James Joyce, yeah. And then there's this little... He describes this man, I've forgotten what his name is, but he said he lives a short distance from his body. And this is for us to recognize when that's happening, when we're a bit out, we're out of our body. We maybe seem to be present, but we're a little bit away. There's an expression, away with the fairies. But sometimes we're just in our thoughts, in our projects, in our anxieties. And coming back to the present, even if we have lots of worries and things going on, we are safe when we come back to our body and the present moment, because we are powerful when we are present. We have the power to bring presence and love, compassion to ourselves. We are effectively connecting with our Buddha nature. The Buddha nature has the capacity to be present for what is there, and to embrace, and to be solid and stable. And the interesting thing about Buddha nature, you can also, don't have to call it Buddha nature. It's something which just is part of the human heritage, not to mention non-human heritage. But for us humans, when we access our Buddha nature, what we call it, doesn't matter, but it has this quality of, it was always there, available for us. We just had to become available to it, to allow it to be there. A bit like Tay says, the blue sky is available for you. Are you available for the blue sky? And the practice is to become available to the wonders of life in and around you. And to become available to connecting with that Buddha nature, which we all have. In the talk yesterday, Tay said, it's rather funny, rather amusing to talk about searching for nirvana, or was it trying to find nirvana? It's like saying a wave searching for the water. So this Buddha nature is our actual natural nature. But because of our thinking, our anxieties, our tendencies to, estrange ourselves from ourselves, we lose connection. So there you go. That's as simple as that. Just make yourself available. And this way we can gain back our sovereignty, our power, and even there are external things happening. We have that possibility always available to us to be present in ourselves. And if we know that, I remember, I think I've shared this more than once, but I remember being on a plane one time, reading a book of Tay, talking about mindful breathing. And it was very inspiring. And then there was turbulence on the plane, and it was actually quite scary. Sometimes it's just a little bit of up and down, but this one was a little bit stronger. And it was going on a bit, and you could see people getting a bit nervous. And I suddenly, instinctively thought, I don't want to be reading about the practice. I want to be doing it. If I'm going to die now. I wasn't too... It was, I wasn't so worried about dying, but it felt a little bit shaky, so I put the book down. I thought, okay, I'm going to breathe. And so it's just a reminder that when we have a crisis, it's not enough to just know about the practice. We really want to be in it, taking refuge in the practice, because that means to be alive and be in touch with life itself. We suddenly, when in these circumstances, we realize that's the thing we really want and treasure, and so much feel that is the most important thing. But when we're not in a life-threatening situation, we can say, oh yeah, I've got time for that later, tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow. Going into a Shakespeare quote. Right, I wanted to offer an opportunity this morning for something Tay used to do. I'm a bit nervous to do this, but he would sometimes do an à la carte. It means you can ask a question or ask for a particular aspect to the teaching concerning, and I maybe put up 7 on the board, and then we explore those together a bit. So if that's okay, I've done it, I've said it, so I better continue. It means we can. I'll invite Gabriel. You have that. I don't know if we have a spare microphone to go around. We could maybe pass. Go ahead, Gabriel.
So I've had some experiences personally of when coming back to myself in the present moment, for maybe for a more extended period of time, finding myself not going and doing things that I might maybe would be considered normal to do. Like, I don't know, just one memory I have was like putting the washing on, and I was sitting on the sofa, and I was just coming back to the present, and the washing machine finished, and I heard the noise, and I didn't get up to take it out, and my mind was like, why are you not going? You're crazy. Like, you need to, like, it's insane just to sit here and not go take it out. But yeah, something about coming back to the present, I didn't get up. Eventually, maybe like hours after it had finished, I did. I don't know, experiences like that happening, and yeah. Is that not really? Into a question? I guess it's something that I don't hear talked about here, and I guess I want to ask, I don't know why that was, or if it's...
Why you found yourself... What you found yourself not being able to move? Is that what you mean?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay. I'm not quite sure how to formulate. Would anybody want to help formulate that into a question? Andrew? Yeah, go ahead.
Is it something like you felt mindfully present and something else happened in your life, but you were present enough to like not pay attention to it? Like, for example, the washing machine went off and you were like, oh, that's okay, I'll ignore it. Like maybe ignoring life's responsibilities because you were like here. Is that like kind of correct? Yeah, like how could I be mindful but also not like forget responsibilities or things like that, maybe? If that's wrong, tell me.
Where that comes from, maybe. What's going on there or something.
Joe, can you help me? No? Okay. Do you feel confused in that moment? In that time, at the 2 hours before you emptied the washing machine? What was the state of mind? Was it wonderful? Anxiety. Present moment, anxious moment. Okay, I'll answer. Next question. Go ahead. Maybe the microphone. So the a la carte style is I take about 7 and then weave a bit of a sharing with them. So that's the idea. See what happens.
Dear Tai, dear Sangha, my question relates to the teaching you shared with us 2 days ago. We didn't have much time to ask questions at the end. I would like to come back to a very maybe basic question. Maybe it's an easy one, maybe not. The teaching was about the second establishment. Yeah. You talk about emotions. I'm not clear whether emotions are part of the second establishment or are part of the mind. The border between emotions, between mind and feelings is not clear for me.
Mind or body?
Feelings.
Yeah. Okay. Did you refer to the second establishment of mindfulness?
Yes.
Yeah. This is a bit of notes for me as well, Ed, and if you can follow. So, thank you.
Hello. So I feel like with the practice I get more comfortable with my own suffering and have more space for the suffering around me in the world. And I see much more going on, and that changes me. And I realize that the way to deal with that is different than what I kind of learned with myself. And I feel maybe within me unraveled in a way, or like by this suffering, this huge suffering of war and climate change and everything. And I wonder, like when I turn towards that, I feel like I have the difficulty to have like the grounding around me, because the community that I work with changes. I do not have the mindful reflection from everywhere, but I try to be with those that suffer very much, and I wonder how to be with that and not lose my path or my strength. And yeah, I guess that's my question, how to be with a lot of suffering if being with that also means that I do not have that safe surrounding that helps me in my practice. Thank you very much.
Sorry, I was following and then the last part, it kind of switched to saying, if I don't have a safe surrounding, right? Because you shared about connecting with others and the situations in the world and violence going on, and then you switched to saying, but how do I practice if I don't have... But you're referring to thinking about other people in situations where they don't have safety.
Well, in this interaction with very deeply suffering people and looking at a lot of suffering, I feel like I sometimes don't have, like I'm less in the safe zone around me that keeps me reminding to practice in a way, and that reflects the thoughts that really help me. Like I don't have this. I feel like here, for example, in Plum Village, you get reflected a lot of healthy thoughts, and you can keep practicing very easily. And I feel like the more I lean into this space of very deep suffering, even though kind of I learned how to suffer and be with myself, I also lose it when I lean in there too much. And how to keep the balance. That's
keeping balance when with deep suffering of others.
Yeah. That's maybe like not the personal suffering, but of course echoes within me.
I think I have it. Okay. There's quite a few hands up. I don't know how to choose. I saw Kamnush. Yeah. But
can I?
Okay, if you have the mic, you have some power.
Okay. How do you deal with craving of excitement in a routine monastic life? Like the crave for dopamine hit or just something?
Craving in monastic life?
Craving for excitement in monastic life.
And for you, this is important to know because?
because currently I'm living. I feel like I'm living partly. Like I'm in the community, and I want to know how do I deal with that within the 3 months that I'm.
Yeah. So
here.
Maybe in the practice center.
Yeah, in the practice center.
Otherwise, I might have to talk about myself. Yes. Good. Yeah, get the mic to somebody. Okay.
Thank you, dear Thai Phap, dear community. I think one question for me coming up circles around aspiration and something maybe related to the bodhisattva calling or ideal. And I'm wondering how... I think my experience is I feel something very strongly that I really feel good about in expressing it. But as soon as I put it in form, a lot of energy, maybe also around anxiety, comes that I have to prove something, that I'm good enough, getting accepted or something like that. And how can I express whatever there is to be expressed and find my purpose and express it?
So this is about aspiration and purpose?
Yeah, exactly.
And did you say losing confidence, like feeling judged or something? No, there was something about how others...
Yeah. I know it feels just so inherently good to express my aspiration, whatever is good for me, But then I notice how it's kind of getting swept over by fears, by anxieties, by trying to prove. And so I'm wondering, how can I find a form in which I can pour my aspiration into? How to express my purpose, how to stay with my aspiration.
Okay. Did you say fear and
That's one of the things that I notice coming up, and then I'm noticing it's not truly about my aspiration, but I'm just trying to prove that I'm good enough.
I'm proving, yeah.
And that's motivated by fear, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So it took a while. Okay, there's one at the back as well. I saw you. Go ahead.
Dear Tai, dear friends, talking about oneself, one of the things that I find myself here in the 90 days retreat doing is distractions. And so the question is, and Tai, you spoke firstly at the beginning about being present in the present moment so that we're aware when mental formations come into play. So being in the practice center here, my perception was there are very little distractions so that I'm more present for myself. However, the mind finds distractions in everything. So the question is how or what is a practice that can make me more aware of the little distractions or games that the mind plays to remove me from the present moment.
So how to sort of guard yourself from okay, I want to relate that to aspiration as well. Gosh, there's maybe from the back there. There's a couple of hands up. I'd like to. Please make them really good questions because we're losing people. So, no reflection on the previous ones.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Thank you for being brave and inviting questions. I have a question about the collective responsibility piece of being in a sangha or in a monastic community. I wonder when the point comes that the community decides that an external problem requires
I said 7. Is there anybody that would be really upset if they didn't get theirs? Because there was quite a few hands. Please. Okay, we have one here. Please take the mic to...
I guess the mic is not working.
Okay, fair enough. Go.
It's about reformulating the first question.
Right.
If I get it right, what you're saying is that after a long period of practice, you don't know if you're still experiencing present moment, or if you're experiencing something else. Because maybe if you were experiencing present moment, you will get up and like turn off the washing machine mindfully and go back to your practice, but you're not doing that, right? So maybe your question was, after a long period of practice, how do you know that I'm still experiencing present moment and I'm not dissociating or experiencing something else? Or maybe the question could be, is there anything as too much meditation?
Okay, thank you. Right. I'll start with these. I think there's plenty here. Maybe we have a sound of the bell. Okay, so I will just explore some of this. Maybe we also have our Dharma sharing time to explore together. So what I offer may be limited, and some reflections that come to me. I'm just a simple monk. I don't have answers to everything, but I try also to share from my experience, and yeah, I notice the connection, the kind of between these 7 points. They sort of speak to that they have a sense of they go together. And I will actually, so I won't start in order just yet, because I notice I'm distracted by the distractions one. So I have to just go with that. I think I read recently a quote from Franz Kafka, who said, "Evil is everything which distracts." I got a nod, so maybe I quoted it right. Of course, we've long been aware that we are the victims of our distractions, and that is the way in which people monetize the art of distraction through adverts, and through clickbait. We are, especially with our phones, basically, it's like inviting the fox into the chicken coop. When we have the phone by our bed, we're just asking for trouble. And we can't help ourselves, it seems, right? And we are all wired for dopamine. We're wired for that excitement and the craving that comes with it. I think evolutionarily we are wired to search for food, for shelter, for a mate in times of scarcity. And now we're in times of abundance. That wiring means that we didn't, in the evolution, it didn't have an off switch so easily. Like it wasn't, we didn't evolve to deal with abundance. So it's a way in which to say that we are, in a way, battling with that those pathways. It does turn out that the kinds of natural ways, as opposed to all of these distractions from our gadgets, and the natural ways of meeting the dopamine cycle they don't tend to have this effect of really messing with us, where we get depression. And so if we work hard for our dopamine, it's okay, like going on runs and things like that, or exercise. These dopamine is very much needed for our well-being. But this constant hitting the button and this instant gratification is not good for us, and we're not. It's like a kind of an Achilles heel for our nature, our human nature. So we have to be compassionate with ourselves to know we're up against quite a big problem, especially when we have mobile phones and they're designed to hack you, design how to work out exactly how to distract you. So you've got the enemy with you in a way. We shouldn't talk about enemies, right? I mean, how to befriend your phone and turn your phone in so it's not an enemy anymore. And sometimes to change habits and to deal with this kind of thing, first of all, we have to have the real wish to do that, and we have to have, it has to really make sense to us that we want to go in another direction. We want to take it on. And even that is not enough. Because we can have a very strong volition one day that maybe lasts us until midday, and then we have a weak moment. So sometimes making a commitment to ourselves, it can be really helped by a commitment we make ourselves accountable to somebody else, and that can help. Like if you're going to stay off sugar for a period of time and you do a commitment with somebody else, then you have to sort of answer to each other about it, and it somehow makes it easier, and you feel more supported, and you feel you're also letting somebody else down, and somehow that helps to make your volition more strong. In terms of the creating the volition, what can really help is to touch the joy of the practice in such a way that that's what we want, that's what we crave, is the joy of meditation, the joy of being present. And that is not necessarily, because I use the word, we crave that, it could make, does that mean that it can be too much? And I think not. I think that is the wonderful thing about mindfulness energy, is it's not something we can have too much of. Can we bring an obsessive mind to it in a way that can cause harm? Yes, I think it's possible to become, and this is why we had a teaching from the Buddha about the tightening of a string, I can't remember the instrument, but if like now, a guitar string, if you tighten it too much, it can snap. If you have it too loose, you don't get the note. So when we practice diligence and we want to go the longer distance, we want to make sure that the string is not too tight, because we can't keep that up. But it's also, we want it to be at the right tension so that we experience ease. So in diligence and ease go together as one, ease following diligence in the 7 factors of awakening. The teaching on the 7 factors of awakening. And diligence is a bit what I was sharing about this habit, energy we create to keep coming back to the practice, to keep coming back to stopping and being present. And each time we do that, we get more energy, and the diligence becomes easier. And we also ease, the sense of ease, is what we're diligent about. Because often when we think of diligence, we think of something, okay, you've got to really try hard. It's a bit like the word concentration. I've really got to frown in order to concentrate. But actually, in the meditation practices, concentration is something very relaxed. And diligence is something we experience ease in it. And when we do that, we know we've got the guitar string at the right tension. When we get that beautiful note from the practice. And when we experience that note, it's pleasant. It feels right. It feels like we've tuned ourselves well. And we get joy and harmony in our body and mind as we practice. And that sets up a kind of vibration in us that is different from the craving energy that gives us this addiction to distraction, etc. And maybe that habit energy also reasserts itself. But because we've got this mindfulness energy that we've also been cultivating, suddenly we have the guard. Mindfulness as a guard at the gate of our senses. And we notice that we have a choice. And we may make the choice because we're present for when we're about to do it, instead of it just happening automatically. And we say, I have a choice at this moment. And yes, it seems like I'm choosing to do that thing. So you may do that thing. Now, at that point, you can feel really bad that you consciously chose the wrong thing, right? It's even worse, right? But you get another chance to say, yeah, okay, I did. And I see that even I was there, I still chose it. But what about if I reflect on what are the consequences of that? Like, how does it make me feel? It's like a smoker that is really mindful in breathing in the smoke. There's only so many mindful breaths you can do smoking before you say, I don't think I like this after all. And because you're also in touch with not just maybe a nice experience of the nicotine, I don't know what is, thankfully I didn't get that addiction, so I don't know much. But what I've heard people sharing is you get in touch with the harm very directly, not as just a horrible picture on the cigarette package, but as actual felt experience, that you feel the harm you're doing as you take the smoke in. And you suddenly realize the preciousness of breath, clean air, and you begin to value that. So, in much the same way, when we learn to value the cleanness of air and the experience, the cleanness of mindfulness energy, and that being just in harmony with our body and mind, and being open to beauty, which is not sort of exciting in the sense of like highly stimulating, and yet as we calm our body and mind, it becomes very rich as an experience. I had somebody asked for a consultation. They had an addiction to pornography, and I gave him a practice. It was in Deer Park, of just sitting and looking at the pond, which had some fishes and some terrapins, and the light reflecting. And I said, just spend as much time as you can just looking at the pond, replacing that visual stimulation with the pond and the life in the pond. And I said, you can also dip your feet in the water. And so he diligently did that. And gradually he attested to the experience of replacing the images, the highly stimulating images of the pornography, with just the beauty of a simple pond with fish, and he learned to love nature in that way. So this was, this is something we can do, especially so we can also notice which is the sense door which is being activated, and use the same sense door to replace with something which is wholesome. And wholesome is a beautiful word because it has the word whole in it. And one of the things, I think it was, I'm trying to remember the name, there was another American poet who said, I don't want the pleasure coming from distilled things. I want the pleasure coming from wholeness. And often what we're offered is these very distilled things which are separated from the context, the wholesome context. So they do hit a natural mechanism in us, but they are separated from the natural, from the whole of life, and for the respect and reverence for life and for other people and for causing harm both to ourselves and others. So this where mindfulness comes into the precepts as well, as they come into the it becomes very natural when we become mindful that why would we want to cause harm to something? And we see the connection in causing harm to our own happiness and suffering. Even if, so it becomes, we can become quite sensitive in that way, where we wouldn't even, we'd be not wanting to tread on an insect, even. Because if you're, truly in touch with the insect, imagine you are really observing an insect going around its daily life. It would be quite unpleasant to suddenly see it squashed, right? Because you're in touch with the kind of miracle of that life. Even it's just an insect, we would say. So that way, mindfulness and reverence for life co-arise. So we do often talk about mindfulness can be a guard on the door of our senses. We actually can even say to ourselves, we ask our store consciousness and our mindfulness coming from our own kind of Buddha nature that I mentioned. Say, please, can I have a mindfulness guard for when this habit energy arises? Another example would be that I've found helpful for myself is if you have a negative thought about yourself, to have a guard of mindfulness that lets you know, oh, you've had that thought again. Because if you don't catch that thought as it arises, it will cascade into more thoughts. Just as if you don't catch the craving as it arises, the mental formation as it arises, you will find yourself already doing the thing and kind of lost in that before you can have a choice. With a negative thought, the same about yourself, you can recognize it as it arises and choose to have 3 mindful breaths and say, there's my negative thought, and you turn that negative thought into a bell of mindfulness, a bell that invites you to come back to yourself, breathe, smile, and bring compassion to yourself in that moment. And with 3 mindful breaths, the negative thought is gone. But it actually served as a friend. I wonder if we can do that with our other afflictions and our other distractions. Let them become a friend by recognizing when they come up, and instead of saying, oh no, or being feeling a victim of them, we say, that's my bell of mindfulness. And once again, to let that become something that, recognizing it, we maybe need help to do that. So I mentioned about being accountable to somebody else and pairing up, having a buddy, but also just to recognize, as somebody has shared in the questions, about the fact that we are in a community of practice, so we have this incredible collective energy to support us. So taking full advantage of that, and not finding holes to go into and put yourself away, but take part in the Sangha life. Going for solitary walks in the forest is great. Going into your room and getting on your phone is maybe not so great. If you need to do emails and respond and do it in a collective area, make use of the Sangha to support you, and know that you are, it's being humble too. It's not so easy if you're on your own. The more we experience the joy and the fruits of the practice, the more we have the chance to overcome the craving for these distilled, abstracted excitements and distractions. And for the question about the washing machine, I feel like would want to go more deeply into your actual experience to really meet. But if I can, so if I get this, if I'm off, it's okay. Just it can be for a general point. Is that to say that when we say we're in the present moment and we are experiencing actual anxiety, and we get somehow in this description a bit locked into a where we don't move, and but we feel present somehow, but the presence is also with anxiety. Am I right? Roughly. What I would say is, if we're, emptying the washing machine is not the most important thing. That can wait, unless somebody else is needing the washing machine. Okay. What is important is the quality of your presence, and what is actually happening in that, and checking, am I free in this present moment? Is there freedom? Is there a sense of ease? And if there is anxiety, that's okay, but can I smile with non-anxiety to my anxiety? Can I recognize it, embrace it, accept it, and what happens to it? So if we're taking care of our anxiety with our presence, with being present, that's great. And we can spend time to do that. If after 2 hours it hasn't changed, we may question, maybe we're sort of locked in a certain kind of state, a mind state, which is not actually the same. It's maybe mimicking a bit a feeling like, oh, I'm present, but there's a sense in which it's not free, and it doesn't have this expansive quality that we're looking for. So it may even be good to say, actually, I'm going to shake myself out of this and go for a walk. And then if it was true that you were being mindful, present, you'll easily come back to that. Go for a walk, shake it up a bit, and come back to, and then stop and come back to yourself and see what happens. Just in case there was something else going on, right? Where you were kind of getting locked into a certain, maybe a non-beneficial mind state, a kind of false concentration. Okay, it's again, I would say with these sorts of experiences, we can experiment, and we find different ways to play with our experience of the practice. And ultimately, as in the Kalama Sutra, the Kalama people in the time of the Buddha had many teachers teaching them this and then teaching them that, and they said to the Buddha, who do we follow? How do we know what to follow? We get told this one day by one teacher, and then this another day. Which one are we supposed to do? And the Buddha said, doubt is great. Doubt things, be skeptical, question things, but sense if this feels, the teaching resonates with you as something that could be beneficial for yourself and others. And if it feels, yeah, this could be, then try, put it into practice, and then see if you can make the experience for yourself that it is beneficial for you and it is beneficial for others. And this is something which we can use as a check. Is this practice helping? And is it helping me? And is it fitting that it is also not harming me or others? And then we can say, yeah, okay, this is good. I mean, there's this expression: the Dharma is immediately useful and effective. So it's good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end. Yeah? So if you're stuck with something, question, maybe I need to shift my attitude, my mind, free something up to approach this and find the true practice kind of place, the sweet place where it's like, oh, this is working. And again, the string image and things like this can help. Emotions for the second mindfulness training. Second establishment of mindfulness. Do they belong to the body or the mind? And in the sutra, it literally asks you to identify that. The Vedana are the sensations. They are the feelings that we get. We are invited to say, is this arising from the body or the mind? I think that that dichotomy is also tricky, because actually an emotion, we know biochemically is partly hormonal and it can arise from the body. And we can always find with any emotion that we have, there is something going on in the body. And it's useful to come back to the body and recognize that. So what is mind, what is body, is maybe a provisionally useful dichotomy to say mind, body, but ultimately mind and body are one. They connect with each other. So often ailments we have, it can be a backache, it could be many things. Many of us have experiences where we heal something in our mind, in our psychology, if you like, and then that physical thing disappears. That is sometimes tells us the mind and the body are strangely connected, because we thought they were so separate, you know. But yes, we are invited to to notice, is this arising from the mind or from the body, the sensation? And with emotions, we would normally associate that with the mind, but we very much engage the body in taking care and recognizing the emotion and the effect it's having on us, and bringing our mindful breathing and our bodily awareness as the mindfulness energy which is embodied, that also then embraces the emotion, and which is to say that we're present with it and we allow the emotion to be there. Just aware of time. Am I hitting? Is that enough? You can. Yeah. Keeping balance with the deep suffering others, the aspiration and the collective action these somehow go together for me. So yeah, I think there is, when we get to the certain point in the question, distilling the question down, we see the answer. It is about keeping balance. And if you notice that you're losing your balance in being in contact with suffering from others, then you need to take care of that and come back to yourself. Yeah? And knowing that our stability, and in fact our joy, is the kind of joy that comes from our stability are often the most beneficial thing we can bring to the suffering of others. If the kind of joy, I don't want to talk about joy as a kind of light thing, but I'm talking about the kind of joy that comes from non-fear. It means even this, I am touching a deeper well of compassion and love and life energy that allows me to not be frightened by the suffering. We can be sad. We will experience sadness, and we can experience many emotions. And we need to take care of those and regain our sovereignty, and then we can be more effectively present for the suffering. And we can help. You know, the word compassion in the 4 Brahma Viharas, the abodes of the Brahma, compassion, the word is karuna, and karuna contains the meaning of the capacity to relieve suffering. The word compassion from the French is to suffer with. It's kind of empathetic, and you suffer with. And it's beautiful, it's a beautiful word. But if we suffer with and get also drowned in that suffering, when we can't help. And karuna is the capacity to help relieve suffering. And often that is just to be able to be present with somebody, to not run away from the suffering of the other, but to be able to be that friend that can sit solidly with that person and even go through the same circumstances. They're not afraid. If you're frightened of death and you're with somebody who's dying, you will run away. But if you say, yes, actually you can be frightened of death, but I've got something more than just that fear of death. I've also got this ability to stay with that fear and be in touch with the love and hold that person's hand and breathe. That person will be very grateful for your presence and your stability and your non-fear. And even in these moments there can be joy. The aspirations that we have can be very beautiful. When they get mixed up with trying to prove ourselves, of course we want to check. Our aspiration should be grounded in the practice so that it becomes a natural expression of coming from our practice energy. It's simply love that is finding action as a place where the love can flow. We don't need there's so many different forms of different aspirations or things we can do. So also not getting fixated on one way or one, in the sense that sometimes our idea of the best thing to do, we can get too caught in that, and we should come to the place of touching the peace, the non-fear in us, and the love, so that we find life itself and the situation itself is naturally calling for that. And we respond in the present moment with what we can. But of course we can ally that to an actual collective action, to an aspiration, to serve, to a kind of project, if you like. But we should always be checking that we are coming from that place of feeling solid in ourselves and offering from that place. And then we can be safe from caught in the need to prove something. These are getting quite short answers, but I'm going to try and hit the last question on collective action. I'll ask for a sound of the bell. Yeah. So as mentioned, there are many forms of action we can take in response to suffering, in response to social injustice, even genocide happening. We are aware we need to respond. Our teacher, Tai, spoke out in many circumstances, and when I read his poetry, when I read his books on creating peace, and it is very clear that there is no place for violence in the way we are witnessing in the world, from a religious point of view, from a holy war, from a sense of the ends justify the means. It is, even if there is a belief that somehow we have to do this in order to achieve this, it's been witnessed so many times that it only causes more suffering. And the ends and the means cannot be separated. Violence begets violence. Only love can be a true response, and this has been said by many people, not just Tay. So this is clear, and there is no possible way that we can support acts of killing. Especially, we see at the level of a kind of genocidal actions, we have to ask for this to stop. But in Plum Village, we have a prayer. When we invoke Avalokiteshvara for the chanting at the beginning of each retreat, and there will be a Dharma teacher, maybe Phap or Sister Chanduk, Phap, and we read a prayer, and we call for an end to this violence, and we name it. It's happening not just in one place, but there are injustices and wars and violence happening in many places in the world. And we as humans, whichever side we are on, we are all suffering from both those that are perpetrating violence and those that are receiving the violence suffer because of that violence. So we pray for an end to this, for there to be compassion, and we invoke Avalokiteshvara. And this we have been doing many times, and we also engage in other projects to be present and offer Plum Village practice and invite people to come here to practice. We have Sabrine over from Palestine, Israel, with us. We have many other people from troubled countries that come to Plum Village and they get inspired, and we support, and we also arrange to go out so that we can be also present in these places as monastics, as lay Dharma teachers, go out and offer the practice, and mostly they just offer their presence. We could call it solidarity, but it's not solidarity with one people, but with the suffering. For whoever is suffering, both sides are suffering. And this is something we engage with, and there's other things we can do. I know that there is a call for more statements and things online and things like that. And it's true that since Thai would often be that voice, because he would give Dharma talks and then his talks would automatically be published. That was the way it happened. Now it's not quite, we don't have the mechanism for that so much, but this is, there's many aspects in which we are engaged. And I think if we are disciples of Te and practicing mindfulness, then reverence for life and not supporting any act of killing in our thinking, in our way of life, is very foundational to our aspiration, to our practice. And of course we can do many things, and acting as a Sangha collectively is powerful. There is a sense in which Te, he went to the US from Vietnam because he wanted to speak to where the roots of the war were, in those that had the idea that bombing and these actions in Vietnam were somehow the thing to do. He spoke to Robert McNamara, he spoke to some politicians, he met Martin Luther King, and maybe Thai's presence in the US had an effect on ending the war. It's difficult to say historically what Thai's effect on whether the war would have ended and how exactly, but what we can say is Thai's non-dualistic way, whereby he came as an ambassador for peace and asked for the bombs to stop, came from a place of deep love and not blaming, as in the sense of being angry. He made the comment, there is not enough peace in the peace movement. So being peace became the way in which he called for peace. Walking meditations. The violence we see on the outside is also part of the human wiring. As I mentioned, for the dopamine, we also have the seed of violence, very much as our potential. So seeing our tendency for violence in us, be it violence towards ourselves, violence towards others, seeing that we have harmful thoughts and taking care of these also becomes an act of resistance to this tendency in the human collective. So being a collective that generates the energy of compassion and inclusiveness, we are also engaging in modeling peace, being a model for that possibility. But more than that, we actually offer a home for people, and we offer our energy of non-fear and friendship to all. And yes, we have to call things out, and we have to call things by their true name, not to blame, but to say, stop. This must stop. Politically, we have no idea what effect that can have, where these, just calling, many people do call for things to stop. The UN can call for things to stop. So, whilst that is important, what is more important perhaps, or very much needed, is for us to not give up by saying, oh, this problem, we have this thing, you hear this expression, compassion fatigue. I had a young monk come to me just the other night saying, I don't know, all of this thought engagement outside is distracting me from my practice. And I said, there is, look at in the dining hall. It invites us to, when we take the first mouthful of food, to recognize that many living beings are struggling to live. May we eat and chew our food, aware of that struggle for many living beings, and give the vow that we want to practice in such a way that every living being has enough to eat. It's one of these crazy vows that, it's like a North Star. But the intention and the spirit of that intention is very powerful. And when we include the suffering of the world in our practice, in our steps, we don't need to feel that that is taking away from our practice, because we are, as Tay said yesterday in the talk, when he bows, he's bowing as a lineage of people. He's bowing, he touches the earth with his 5 limbs in such a way that the whole of humanity is with him. And as we expand our heart and expand our sense of self, we can include. We have to start with ourselves, but gradually we can open our heart and say, as I touch the earth, I also touch the earth, allowing the suffering of others to be also part of this practice and healing. I need to close the time, so let us thank you for the questions, and please explore further in your Dharma sharing together. if that's what you have this afternoon. Yeah. Okay. With each bell, is time for 3 mindful breaths in and out. So allow time to really be in touch with our mindful breathing. 3 sounds to close together.